So I'm here with Larry Welle. Larry Welle of OxaVap.
That's correct.
And how long have you been making oxalic acid?
We've been doing this for 10 years now.
10 years.
Yeah. When we first started, there wasn't anybody in the United States selling these things.
Yeah.
And I was working with a commercial beekeeper at the time, helping him out. And one day he says, we're going to go out and treat for mites. I said, okay. So we went out there and we were actually dribbling oxalic acid.
Yeah.
And I didn't know a thing about oxalic acid then, so I came back and researched it. And I said, okay, there are two ways of applying it. You can dribble it or you can vaporize it.
Yeah.
And I looked, I said, okay, the commercial guys are dribbling it, and there's a whole lot more hobbyist beekeepers than there are commercial guys. So let's go the vaporization route. And I did. I couldn't find anybody in the United States that was selling them. So I went overseas, and they've been using it for 20 years before we started
It's been in Europe a long time.
So I started importing them, and one thing led to another, and now they're being sold all over the United States. We're the largest distributor of oxalic vaporizers in the United States.
So are you a distributor and manufacturer?
Well, I help design what we have, okay? The manufacturing is done in Europe. So if you look around, Dayton sells them, Man Lake sells them, all the big beekeepers buy these oxalic acid vaporizers to resell.
So what's your flagship product?
Right now, the flagship product is the Provap 110.
Provap 110. I think most beekeepers are going to be familiar with this at some point. So this runs on 110 volt.
That's correct.
You can use a generator if you're in an out yard.
Right.
You can use house electric. You can use an inverter with a car battery.
That's correct.
To power this. And
I like using an inverter because if you sit there and you take a generator out in the yard, it's one more thing that won't start.
Yeah.
Okay, you take an inverter out there, it works every single time.
So you put your dose of oxalic in here, and currently the legal limit is
1 gram.
1 gram per hive body.
Yes.
And there is a lot of research being done on dosing, and there are indications that a higher dose is more effective. But
Cameron Jack has done a lot of research on that.
And I know Jennifer Berry at UGA was doing 3 grams, and they are getting a better kill, but that's not on the label.
Not legal.
So that's not legal.
Correct.
If it's not on the label, it's not legal.
I agree.
There have been some entrants to the market, and you want to talk about the durability, how these things are built. I've got a John O's Easy Vape, which is no longer made.
Right.
They use a silicone cap.
That's correct.
They do wear out.
They do.
And one of the problems I have with mine is because it's more conical, the oxalic will get in there and get heated, and then it forms a plug that just does not drop into the bowl.
That's correct.
So you have to be really careful about skipping hives, where you pull the cap out,
and it hasn't vaporized.
And the oxalic drops on the ground, and if you don't notice that, it can be a real problem.
Exactly. They're 100% Teflon.
Yeah, this is 100% Teflon, so it's going to last longer than the silicone will.
Yes.
What about your heating unit, the parts, and all that warranty?
We have a 1-year warranty that comes with them, okay? Unless you run over it with a car or truck, we can fix anything on there. And we take them back out of warranty, and for $125, once they're out of warranty, we'll revamp the whole thing for you and send it back.
Okay, so you do refurbish.
Oh yeah.
And parts availability, if you need a new bowl or something like that, you've got all the parts.
Got all the parts.
What usually wears out on these?
You know, it's hard to say. What normally wears out on here it's not a wearing out, is the people are not very careful when they insert it in the hive. And
they bend or break?
They sit there and this tip gets hot and becomes malleable when it's hot. And they wiggle it around, and eventually it breaks off.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just gets fatigued.
Yeah, just the fatigue on it, and then we just pull it off, put a new bowl on it, and away you go.
So new bowl, you just got 2 bolts here that clamp.
You pull this bowl off here. It's a bottomless bowl, to tell you the truth, because it sits on a temperature controller on the bottom.
Okay.
You just slip it back on here, tighten this back up, and you're ready to go again.
So that's probably the most common thing.
That is the most common thing we have with it.
Now, let's not bury the lead here, because this is probably the most exciting thing that I've seen at this conference so far. It's a pain doing oxalic when you are using the little spoon, putting it in the bowl, and you're trying to stay ahead of, I've got 10 caps,
right.
and I'm trying to stay ahead of my machine and fill those from a mason jar with a little 1 gram spoon while I'm treating. It gets to be a lot.
Okay.
So this, you've got a metal syringe here that is adjustable.
It is.
You can take this and stick it in oxalic acid.
Correct.
It forms a plug. You stick it in this cap,
That
which goes in the bowl.
Which is basically permanently affixed.
Yeah, permanently affixed. So even if you have an existing Provap, you can use this.
Absolutely.
And it's just a big upgrade.
Yep. You just come over.
Yeah, so you've got a tapered hole here. This is tapered. You plug it down into the oxalic, stick it in there, and hit it. And there is no way it's going to stay in the bowl. You don't have to tap it.
No,
you don't have to do anything.
Nothing.
It's
and there's no measuring because you would
because you can set that to 2 grams or 3 grams or 4 grams or what's the maximum that would hold?
I think this one holds 6 grams.
6 grams.
I mean, if you open it up here, you can see this is adjustable here. Okay, because that adjusts the plunger, the amount that's going to fit in here. You just adjust it for whatever you want, put it back in, you're ready to go.
So this is manufactured in Europe.
Right.
The parts, temperature controller, all that stuff is sourced there.
That is correct. This is made in Europe as well, and it's all 304 stainless steel.
Yeah. What I've got currently, I know the parts come from China.
Yeah.
And I've been using it for a year, and I'm already having some issues with it wanting to not cycle on. So
the only issue is sometimes there are many manufacturers of the Verax 100, which is the PID, here. And some are better than others. And you never know when you get them. If you get a bad one, I replace it. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, there's a couple of little tabs on the bottom here. You bend them back, this whole thing comes out. You put another one back in, you're done.
Yep. Now, one thing about oxalic acid, if I'm using it in winter, which is the best time to use it if hives are broodless.
Correct.
I'm also using it in late July to early August, which is not a good time to use it because it does not penetrate wax capping.
Well, it's yes and no. It's not a good time to use it because, again, it does not penetrate. But if you do multiple treatments...
Yeah, I'm doing 6 treatments at 4-day intervals. And that has been pretty effective for me. But if you have 100 hives and you're doing 6 treatments per hive,
time consuming.
It gets to be time consuming, but that is also a lot of heating cycles on a unit. Very quickly, every year that's going to be 600 heating cycles. So do you have any guidance on how your unit's going to hold up to that kind of stuff?
I haven't, because what happens is it depends on how you take care of the unit, okay?
What do you have to do to take care of it?
Again, all you got to do, if you're an owner, you take care of your own equipment. If you have help, you don't know whether they're grabbing this thing and just throwing it in the back of the truck, okay?
So it's mechanical damage.
Yeah, basically that's it. Again, but
it's not a maintenance
type
thing, it's just mechanical damage. Don't beat on it, and it's going to last a long time.
Don't leave it out in the rain, don't dip it in water, all that sort of thing. Take care of it like you would your own, and you're fine. Again, we can rebuild anything now. It just is.
I'd really like to take a look at the big one down here. You think we can get that and bring it over here?
Hold on a second. This is the Provap EZ. As much as I love this unit here, I love this one better. Okay, this is my go-to unit right now because there's no bending over, there's no measuring. All you're doing is sitting there and you're plugging it in the same as you would with the Provap. You get a capsule or a hot dog, basically. You dip that in oxalic acid. Okay, it grabs the appropriate amount. You sit here and you slide it down the tube. It hits a stop in the bottom. It goes into the heating chamber and blows right in the front of the hive. 20 seconds, 25 seconds later.
So that's interesting. The actual gravity feed and the bump at the bottom is what causes the oxalic to eject.
Fall out, exactly.
Okay.
And we have these in 2 and 4 gram capsules. So whatever your choice of delivery is, we have it for you.
What's the difference in price between those two?
This is on the show price. This is $6.95.
Okay.
It's all again
and this with this, which I think this is a compelling product. I'm a believer in compelling products, and this is a compelling improvement over the old system.
I think so. What you do when you get a Provap, you get 2 ordinary caps. Okay, they come with it. This is another.
Yeah, it's an add-on.
It's another add-on. Okay, and that's $50.
$50. How much is the regular Provap?
Regular Provap retail $485, show special $450.
Okay.
Okay.
So $485 and then $50 for this, which I think that's a no-brainer. If you're going to buy into the system, I think that's really worth it.
Well, and I tell beekeepers it's no more different than the price of 2 or 3 overpriced nukes.
Yeah.
You know, if you're talking in bee talk. You know, so.
Well,
but again, this is the one. This is my go-to one. Yeah. Personally.
How many hives do you think you need to have for that to really make sense versus this?
You know, it depends on the condition of your back and what you want to do. I mean,
Okay.
truly, you know, after a while, it becomes ease of use, and you have to pay for convenience, whether it's a beekeeping item or an item you're buying for your home. And
are you treating through the entrance or through the back?
No, I'm treating through the entrance here. You can see we've covered the stem here, so we don't have an issue with it.
So you're not having an issue with breakage and all that.
And this is a stainless steel over top of that, and this goes right in the front.
Are you making a plug to go into the front so you can block the entrance, or you just?
We let beekeepers do that. What I do is when I sit there and I throw it in, I throw an old T-shirt in front of it, and that's it. You know, it doesn't have to be a perfect seal, but you don't want all the vapors coming out because what's the sense of doing it? If
that stuff's heavier than air, so it will eventually settle.
It will.
I get it coming out of my upper entrances and all that when I'm treating, but it will settle back down, and
that's
you
true.
lose a lot of it out of the front.
And, you know, and it depends on the humidity and the air pressure too, on how it reacts over there. Some people have screen bottom boards, and they say, do I have to close them up? I said, well, treat one time and see if it's falling out the bottom. If it's not falling out the bottom, you're good because it's going up. But other days you could go out there and treat, and it's going to be coming through. So you got to block them up. But
that's interesting. You know, oxalic acid, I'm a big proponent of that, and it's shocking to me that we know that it works, but we don't know how it works.
That's true. I mean,
scientists don't know the mode of action that it uses to kill mites. So, you know, that has ramifications. We don't know if mites can become resistant to it or not.
Well, you say that's true, but if you stop and think of the number of years we've been using it in the United States and the number of years that we've used in Europe, and there's no resistance to it.
You would think that they're not going to become resistant, but who knows?
You know, I sit there and say, okay, if I shoot you with a shotgun, I don't care how many times I shoot you, you're not going to become resistant to that shotgun. You're dead. You know, and that's the way I look at it because, again, I see absolutely no resistance for it at all. So,
so I'd like to talk about wands as well because I actually started with this Verax wand. And if you're going to treat with a wand, I think this makes a lot of sense. They can be a little bit of a hassle to use if you have entrance reducers in. So what I actually started doing was cutting my entrance reducer in half. With a 45, so I could put it back in. But I could just take half of it out and get this wand in the entrance. What is really compelling about this is when you take it out, it's hot, so you can't put more oxalic in.
No, you can't.
But you can dip this in a bucket of water.
That's right.
And cool it off, and immediately go and treat your next hive.
That's correct. That is the one I started basically the business with. It is a workhorse, and it was the best one on for a wand vaporizer. It's the best one on the market.
Yeah, and if you've got fewer than 10 hives, I think this makes a lot of sense. It is a little more expensive compared to some of the other wands, but being able to dip this thing in a bucket of water, I actually had a little garden cart. That I would use. So I would put my battery in the garden cart, I'd put my bucket of water in the garden cart, and I'd just go from hive to hive, pull my half entrance reducer out, shove that thing in, and you can get done pretty quick.
You can move pretty quick.
You can move pretty quick. Not nearly as quick as this or that.
No, I mean, but this one here, the quality on it is stupendous. It's German Swiss made. It's steel, stainless steel. It's not aluminum like this one over here. I mean, this is a great one. You got 2 or 3 hives. Those cents paying for that, okay? This one works just as fast.
So price on that?
That is $85 on the show.
$85. This one's going to be
$150.
$150. In my opinion, everyone should jump to this model.
I agree.
If you're going to use oxalic acid, go ahead and jump to this model. That's my opinion.
And we also had the mask. You certainly want to make sure that when you're doing this, you are protected. You don't want to breathe this stuff. You breathe it one time and you know you'll never do it again. Because you do go coughing spell.
It does very intense damage to lungs.
I've heard that once you have it in with you, it stays with you forever.
So you have to have an organic acid cartridge.
Correct.
With a P100 filter is the recommendation that I'm seeing now on the label. On the Appy box.
Yeah, I mean, this one here, if you look at it, it's an organic vapor. Okay,
so you've got to have the right equipment if you're going to use this stuff.
If you're using this one over here or this one over here, don't get a disposable one. Get a full face respirator because you're going to be working in a heavy oxalic vapor environment. Okay, and you just want to be very protected. That's all.
So some people watching this may not understand why oxalic acid is popular or why I'm using it specifically. It is harder on me to use than some other treatments, but it is easier on the bees. I've seen no study that says that they have seen any damage to the hive from using oxalic acid.
I had 2 hives that I put a queen excluder down the middle of, okay? And every time during the summer I went out to the hives, I vaporized them. I had more queens in them. I watched queens never superseded, they never died. I watched eggs go to brood and hatch out. I see no damage whatsoever.
There's no temperature recommendation with thymol and formic. If you apply those when it's hot, then you can kill a hive. You can make a hive abscond. You can have big issues with those. With oxalic, there's none of that. There's no queen damage that I've ever heard of. There's no brood damage that I've ever heard of. The disadvantage to it is it only kills mites that are outside of cappings.
That's correct.
So you have to work around that. And you have to use the correct protective equipment. But it is so useful. And it's useful in ways that I don't think people are thinking of. Bob Benny was talking yesterday about how he is going to have some yards where he's trying to identify queens to become breeders.
Right.
And he is going to do an alcohol wash on every hive in the spring to see how many mites they've got.
Okay.
And he's going to select for the hives that have the lowest mite counts.
Right.
Alcohol washes, in my opinion, are a pain in the neck. They are. I don't like doing them. You have to worry about getting the right bees in the wash. You have to worry about where the queen is. I've set my hives up on either screen bottoms or oil tray bottoms. And to check mites, all I have to do in the spring is go and hit 1 dose of oxalic acid. Get a mite count.
Look at what you see on that bottom board and you know exactly what you got.
I mean, if you use a sticky board or an oil tray or anything to check those after oxalic acid, you go and look 3 days, you pull it out in one hive and there'll be 100 mites on there, and then you'll pull out another hive and they've got 10. You know, which one has fewer mites? Pretty obvious. So if you're trying to select for low mite counts without doing alcohol washes, this is a super easy way to do that. It is
an easy way to do it. Not only that, you got the added benefit if you treat it one time too.
And it's the stuff is cheap, even if you are using the labeled correct.
It is enormous. I mean, it's pennies per treatment. You know, you go
Appy Bioxyl works out to about 50 cents per hive if you're buying the bigger dose. I wish we would have more entrance into that market, but unfortunately a lot of people I won't say unfortunately, because I understand it, but a lot of people subvert that because you can get generic oxalic acid very cheaply.
Well, and
I wish that we would get some innovation in that. I wish it would have some more. It'd be great if you could buy a 5-gallon bucket of oxalic acid that's labeled for use and was in pellets or something. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But again, if you even spilled out what you bought and it dumped out on the ground, you wouldn't cry. You just said, darn it, man, I got to go get some more. You know, because it's not like you drop $50 out on the ground or anything.
Yeah.
You know? It's cheap.
You could, even if you're buying the correct legal stuff, you could treat 2,000 hives for about $600. If you treat 2,000 hives with Apivar
or anything else,
you're gonna have a bill.
You're gonna have some big
You're gonna have a
bills.
serious bill. It's gonna hurt to write that check.
I agree.
Awesome, Larry. Anything else you want to talk about?
Nah, at the moment we do have another one we just came out with, and this is great for people who have back problems or don't want to haul around a cart with batteries or whatever.
Yeah.
This is the battery for the vaporizer. All you're doing is putting the oxalic acid in here. You slide it in the hive. You press the button. You walk away. When it turns green, you're done.
Yeah.
And this is the whole unit right here.
So rechargeable.
Rechargeable.
How many hives can you
get
treat?
about 15 hives with
15 hives on a charge.
And we have, again, replacement parts and batteries for all these.
Is this? Can you dip that in water to cool it off between treatments?
No, what you do is when you pull it out, it's going to be more or less cool anyway.
Okay.
And you just dump this one out and you get another cap.
Okay, so you got different bowls.
That way you're not handling a hot cap or anything. You can just dump this in water and then you're use the next one and you're ready for the next hive. So again, this is for somebody who doesn't want to do the batteries, you know, a heavier battery, or ladies who just, this is all I want.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Larry, I really appreciate it. Appreciate you talking to me.
My time.